Hey guys, welcome to today's video where we're going over my NFL wildcard game picks. Before we get started, please drop a like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate it. Currently, I'm coming out with daily NFL content. So if you're interested in more daily NFL videos, then please hit that like and subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. And with that said, let's dive right into the video, and I hope you enjoy. So let's dive right in here by showing our big board for today. The AFC wildcard games are going to be on the left, and the NFC wildcard games are going to be on the right. Let's dive right into Colts at Bills. And this is going to be a fun matchup. Obviously, the Colts secured the 7th seed last weekend with a win over Jacksonville, and Buffalo secured the 2nd seed with a win against Miami. And Buffalo has been playing very well of late. I mean, Josh Allen is an elite NFL quarterback. His ability to get outside the pocket and use his legs and arm to be very effective outside the pocket, and with Stephon Diggs too. It's a scary offense there in Buffalo. And plus, the way their defense has been playing over the past few weeks just makes the entire team that Buffalo has into a much better team, into a much scarier team. And although this Colts team has been playing solidly, I mean, they beat Jacksonville last week. They were up big against the Steelers the week before and ended up losing the game. They have had some success recently running the football with Jonathan Taylor, but at the end of the day, I just don't think that defense is going to hold up against a very talented Bills offense. Although that Colts defense is one of the best in the NFL, or has been this season at times. I mean, with guys like DeForest Buckner, as well as Leonard at linebacker, Grover Stewart's had a good season, Kenny Moore. They have playmakers on that defense, but I think this Bills offense is just going to be too much to handle, especially in Buffalo. Tough place to play, and they're going to have fans now. So at the end of the day, I just think Buffalo is going to run away with this game with Josh Allen in that elite passing game and that very good defense that's played very stingily over the past few weeks. So with that said, we're going to have the Bills winning that game. And let's move on to the Browns versus the Steelers, which is one of the best playoff matchups of the weekend. So Browns at Steelers. Obviously, the Steelers were in Cleveland last week and ended up losing to the Browns, which secured the Browns' playoff spot. But the interesting thing for me here is that the Steelers benched some key starters like Ben and Roethlisberger, and they only lost by 2 points. So that makes me feel like the Steelers are playing some good football right now. And I think playing at home for the Steelers is going to be big for them. I mean, they've got a very good defense, pretty solid offense too. And if they can run the football effectively behind that talented offensive line, then they're going to be very good. The thing for the Browns, the key for them is running the football. Can Nick Chubb get going? Can Kareem Hunt get going? They played some pretty solid football last week against the Steelers on the ground. I mean, Nick Chubb had that really big run that ended up helping them win the game. But overall, the running game is something that's essential to Cleveland. And if the Steelers are able to stop the run effectively, then I think that they'll be able to win. However, even though the Browns won last week, Baker Mayfield's playing some good football. I think the Steelers at home, it's a playoff game, different mentality, different atmosphere. I think the Steelers will get the job done. And I mean, they've got the quarterback to do it in Ben Roethlisberger, who's done it his entire career. So with that said, I think the Steelers will win this game. Better defense, talented quarterback with veteran leadership experience compared to a first-time playoff quarterback in Baker Mayfield, who's had an up and down year. So with that said, let's take the Steelers in this one, and let's go back to the big board. And let's go to Ravens at Titans, which is arguably the matchup of the weekend. Very interesting matchup here between the Ravens and the Titans. And obviously, I mean, the last 2 meetings of this team, the Titans won. It's starting to become a little bit of a rivalry. I mean, the Titans obviously beat the Ravens last year in the playoffs to knock the Ravens out, and a lot of teams thought the Ravens were potential Super Bowl candidates, fighting alongside the Chiefs in that regard. So overall, this Ravens team is hungry. They want to beat this Tennessee Titans team. And although they're not playing at home this time, they're playing in Tennessee, I think the Ravens can get the job done. And here's why. So for starters, both of these offenses are very good. Very, very good offenses. The Ravens don't really throw the ball. Both of these teams run the ball a lot. And the good thing for the Ravens is that their defense is a lot better than the Tennessee Titans defense. I'm not worried about either of these offenses. These offenses are going to put up a lot of points. But what the thing is that the Ravens defense is stingy and it's elite. I mean, guys like Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters in the secondary, and then you've got really good players that can rush the passer and stop the run up front. So overall, this Ravens defense is very good. This Titans defense is horrendous. I mean, they've been the bottom third of the league this entire season statistically in most of those statistical categories. So I'm not expecting too much from this Tennessee Titans defense. Although the Titans did beat the Ravens in Week 11 this season, I still think the Ravens, they're going to play with an edge. They've surrendered 300 and something yards to Derrick Henry over the past two meetings, so they're going to want to stop Derrick Henry. They're going to want to go after this Titans team, and I think they're going to get the job done. I mean, they've lost the last two against this team. They have a rivalry. Lamar Jackson doesn't want to lose again. He's not going to let them lose again, and the Ravens are coming off a very hot 5-game win streak where Lamar Jackson and that defense has been playing absolutely fantastic football. The Titans are 5-7 in their last 7 games. And they have lost to teams like the Packers, who are playoff contenders. They lost to the Browns. So, I mean, overall, this Titans team hasn't had great success of late against playoff teams. This Ravens team hasn't really played that many playoff teams in the past few games, but when they have played, this Ravens team has been purely dominant. So based off recent success and just that edge that they really have, that big chip on their shoulder, I'm going to take the Ravens in this one. But definitely the Titans have a chance, and this is going to be a very interesting game, very fun game to watch too. So now let's go back to the big board for a second, and it's going to be the NFC wildcard matchups now. Chicago at New Orleans. And this is going to be a fun matchup. I mean, Chicago making the playoffs, who would have thought that would have happened? Obviously with Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles, that whole quarterback carousel that they've had there in Chicago over the past 16 weeks, 17 weeks. But overall, I think the Saints are going to win this one. Even though Alvin Kamara might not play, right, COVID list, there is a chance he does play because it's the game's going to be on the Sunday. So there's a chance that he could be able to play if he clears COVID protocols. But at the end of the day, I mean, this Saints defense is very good. This Bears offense, although David Montgomery has been firing on all cylinders, Allen Robinson has looked good of late. Mitch Trubisky has been getting into a little bit of a groove. I think that it's just going to be too much for this Bears team. I mean, they're lucky to be in the playoffs, to be honest, and I just don't think they have the firepower to beat a very good Saints team. Plus, they can get Michael Thomas back. Their O-line, good, healthy, and they can get a strong running game if those COVID protocols can be followed. And then you got Drew Brees, experienced quarterback. I just think the Saints are going to be too much, especially playing in the Superdome. I just think it's going to be too much for the Chicago Bears to really compete with. I mean, the Bears' defense is pretty good, but that offense, I just don't think is going to be able to come up and show up in playoff time when it really matters. I mean, David Montgomery has been playing fantastically over the past few weeks, but I just don't think it's going to be enough against a very good New Orleans Saints team. And now let's go back to the big board where it's going to be Rams at Seahawks, and we saw this matchup just a few weeks ago. However, there is some question about Jared Goff and his ability to play in this game. And at the end of the day, I just don't think it matters if Jared Goff can or cannot play in this game. I just don't think the Rams are going to be good enough to beat the Seahawks. Both of these defenses the past few weeks have been elite. The Rams defense has been elite all season. The Seahawks defense has been especially good over the past few weeks. So I think defensively, it's not going to be really a question. I think it's really going to be who's going to be able to put up more points. And at the end of the day, Jared Goff, semi-healthy versus the Rams' backup quarterback in Walford. I just don't think they're going to be able to push this ball forward like a Russell Wilson-based offense with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett is going to be able to do it. So based off purely on the offensive success, I think that the Seahawks are going to be able to win this game. Also, the game's in Seattle, and the game that the Seahawks played against the Rams a few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago really, that was in Seattle too, and they won that game. That was a game that Jared Goff ended up getting injured in Week 16. So overall, Seahawks, obviously they beat the Rams last time. I think they can beat the Rams again. Playoff Russell Wilson is something that's fun to watch. And at the end of the day, I mean, the Seahawks have the tools to be successful in the playoffs. I mean, they've got a good ground game with Chris Carson. They've got Carlos Hyde as a backup. But, I mean, it's really that passing game with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson that's really going to push them forward and make a playoff run. I think they're better than the Saints, to be honest, so I think that they have a chance to make it further down the road. But at the end of the day, I mean, they got to win this game. Very important game for them, crucial game for them if they want to win and go far in the playoffs, obviously. I mean, it's a win-or-go-home game. Every playoff game is. But I think the Rams are a team that they can beat. I mean, this defense is very good. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. That secondary is one of the best in the NFL. So, I mean, I think that the Seahawks won't be able to just walk through this one. But the quarterback situation with the Rams is just, it's too murky. I don't think that they're going to be able to really compete with a very good Seahawks team that I think could make a Super Bowl run. So with that said, let's move on to the final NFC playoff game here between the Bucs and the Washington football team. And you know what? The Washington football team finished the season 7-9. Obviously, that game against the Eagles on Sunday night was just an interesting game, right? Nate Sudfeld coming in at the end kind of gave them the win, not going to lie. Definitely some question marks there, but at the end of the day, this Washington football team doesn't really deserve a playoff spot. Yeah, they won their division at 7-9, and they got through a lot, obviously with Ron Rivera, and everything he's had to go through, and obviously the whole quarterback carousel and the quarterback situation that Washington has had to go through, and Alex Smith. This is a great story. Congrats to the Washington football team to making the playoffs, but I'm sorry, you're going against Tom Brady and the Bucs with guys like Mike Evans and Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin. And although your defense is elite in Washington, I mean, your offense isn't elite. And against a very good Bucs defense that can rush the passer effectively and very good in the secondary, too. I mean, they're not as good in the secondary as they are in the front seven, but overall, solid secondary, really good front seven against a Washington football team offense that just has not been good all season. I mean, other than Terry McLaurin, other than Antonio Gibson, other than the tight end in Logan Thomas, they don't really have any weapons. I mean, those sound like solid weapons, yeah, but they have no one behind them. And Alex Smith has not really been able to be great. I mean, he's been solid this season. I mean, he's really allowed for this team to have the success it has had, but he hasn't been elite. He hasn't been great. I mean, he's been good. He's been a good quarterback, but I think this Bucs team is just going to be too much to handle. They're putting up a lot of points right now. And although Washington is one of the better defenses in the NFL with a very, very good front four and a very good secondary with guys like Kyle Fuller, as well as Ronald Darby, I just think this Bucs offense and this Bucs team in general is just going to be too much to handle. So with that said, I'm going to have the Bucs taking this one in the wild card weekend. So with that said, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today. I have the Bills winning, beating the Colts, Steelers beating the Browns, Ravens beating the Titans in a playoff rematch of last year, Saints beating the Bears, Seahawks beating the Rams. That's going to be a fun game too. And then the Bucs beating Washington. So overall, these are my picks. Do you agree with them? Why or why not? Leave your comments in the comment section down below. I'd really like to hear what you guys have to say. That said, that's going to end the video for today. I'm currently coming out with daily NFL content, so please drop a like and a sub on today's video. That would really make my day. I'd really appreciate that. It helps me continue making great quality content for y'all. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, see ya.